Internet. I am Guardian of Stories. Welcome to yet another video. We're doing a face cam today, but today we are doing yet another Warhammer 40,000 40k video, specifically Space Marine 2 video, going over yet another Homebrew Space Marine chapter showcase, as you can see on the screen. Ignore the Discord notification that popped up. Today we are doing this particular Homebrew chapter of mine. Previously we did this one, the Night Bears, which I will link the video to this one at the end screen. You can check that one out. But today we're going over the second Homebrew chapter that I have a good amount of lore for. These are the Storm Heralds. The Storm Heralds are a firstborn Space Marine chapter, specifically of the Iron Hands Space Marine lineage, so the 10th Legion. They are from the 26th founding, which is the founding directly before the Ultimate founding, so they are firstborn. They are non-compliant to the Codex Astartes. They have a more their chapter is built far more akin to the their chapter is built far more akin to that of the Iron Hands in terms of how I tried to make it, because I always try and do that with all of my stuff. The chapter has a chapter master. And that chapter master is known as the Storm Herald, hence which fits with the chapter name, the Storm Heralds. He is the Herald of the Storm, hence Storm Herald, and his name is Gyraxus Broic. I'm not even certain if I'll be pronouncing that correctly, and I made the guy. They hail from the homeworld of Ignean Secundus. I'll get a little bit more into the homeworld in a minute. The war cry this chapter uses is specifically "The storm rages, the spirit endures," which is a bit of a reference to which is sort of a play on my thing, because originally this chapter was not made this way. Originally they were meant to be a successor chapter that completely broke the mold from the Iron Hands and didn't think the whole flesh was weak. So originally the chapter was supposed to be, the flesh is weak, but the spirit, it was like, flesh fails, the spirit endures. And it was like, and then I changed it to, I believe it was, flesh, the spirit is, I think it was like spirits tempered in the flames of war, or something like that. I can't remember, it's been a while. This is the more recent version of it that I'm currently sticking with, which being obviously the storm rages, the spirit endures. Now the gene seed itself is pretty standard for firstborn firstborn Astartes gene seed from the Iron Hands Legion. A little bit of history for them. They obviously formed during the 26th founding, which is the latter section of the 31st millennium, the latter centuries. And they are, while they are a successor of the Iron Hands, they are more specifically a successor of the Sons of Medusa chapter, who were a breakaway chapter from the Iron Hands, and had disagreements which happened during what was called the Moray Schism, which is basically a Mechanicus cult schism, which also bled into the other Space Marine chapters connected to them, such as the Iron Hands. Now, for the culture. The first thing to know is that they were formed alongside a few other chapters, such as the Storm Giants, no relation, and the Mentis Space Marine chapter. The Storm Heralds are relatively young by Space Marine standards in terms of as a chapter. They're only a couple hundred years old. However, in those centuries, they have proved themselves to be a battle-hardened group. As you can see here, this is the more overview of the actual thing, of the actual armor. Now, this particular chapter as well, here, let me zoom in a little bit more. There you go. Now, this particular chapter, like I said, come from the Sons of Medusa, and they possess the exact same zeal when purging the foes of the Imperium of Man and the Mechanicus and the wider Astartes as well. Now they do, like all Iron Hands successes. They do believe that the flesh is weak inherently. However, this is where they do differ. This is kind of why I bring in a little bit of the old version of them. While the flesh may be weak, it is the spirit of mankind that makes them powerful, makes them strong, and will eventually allow them to overcome all. Basically, the indomitable human spirit is essentially what that is, what they think of it. It is humanity's will to fight on and continually improve oneself that makes them strong. That's specifically their doctrine. And while they do in fact heavily augment themselves, it is done in order to show the strength of the resolve to improve and survive. Basically, the mentality of I'm doing this not because I think I'm weak, but rather because I want to be better than what I was. Not because I was already weak, but because that is how I survive. That is how we all survive. I am making a sacrifice of myself in order to better myself. It doesn't always make the most sense, but these are Space Marines, and they don't make sense to begin with. And they see it as less of a it's less of an abhorrence of weakness, but rather a drive to become better. If you can still be amazing without augmenting yourself heavily, great. You are seen as amazing because you have a handicap in essence, but you're still doing better than people who have augmented themselves. Though obviously, if you augment yourselves, great, but do it for a purpose. Don't do it just because for vanity or because you think you're weak. Do it for a specific purpose. It's utility, not fashion. Now, as a result, they do still have, but now as a result, they still heavily augment themselves. Iron Hand's gonna Iron Hand, and now, and they especially admire and honor Marines who have become seriously injured in the line of duty, and choose to wear augmetics in order to continue that fight and continue winning. Or who have managed to, if not physically, mentally and spiritually overcome severe challenges. So, if someone tried to corrupt you, aka if there's an Iron Hands version of Captain Titus, he'd be honored significantly in this chapter. He'd basically become the new chapter master almost immediately. Specifically, those Marines who have survived arduous battles and grievous injuries or pushed past the corruption and machinations of chaos, being seen as exemplifying the virtue of spiritual and mental strength and fortitude. This also applies to how the chapter chooses its officers, with only the most decorated and senior Marines being chosen for command. These officers are often the most augmented or happen to be dreadnoughts, just because they've survived the most. Though the current captain of the Bloodstorm host, one of the companies, known as the Blood Herald, possesses only a pair of augmetic arms, so he's actually rather unaugmented. The organization for the chapter, this is why I get more into the host and heralds thing. The chapter is organized into 5 great companies or great hosts, each one focusing on a particular type of unit as the mainstay focus, but having supporting elements of the others. Each great host is fully self-sufficient of the others, capable of fighting independently from the rest of the chapter. The hosts, from 1st to 5th. No, it was. Let me double check. Yeah, 5. From 1st to 5th. I actually put 6th there. Let me fix that. But yeah, so the chapters from 1st to 5th are the hosts are the Iron Storm, the Thunderstorm, the Bloodstorm, the Firestorm, and the Night Storm. The Iron Storm is meant to be a mostly just these are the very basic troops, the basic tactical Marines. Now the Firestorm, these guys are the more close range combatants. And the Thunderstorm, those are the they're the drop. So 1 second. Now the Thunderstorm, Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm, these are the drop Marines, the guys with the jetpacks and the thunder hammers. Hence Thunderstorm. They're the Vanguard veteran. They're the Vanguard Marines basically. The Bloodstorm, these guys are almost entirely Scout Marines or whatchamacallit them. The Primaris Marines that go behind enemy lines, the ones that have the knives and the submachine guns. One second. They are the... Okay, like the Thunderstorm, while they are technically the Vanguard Marines, these are also what you call the Assault Marines, the jump pack Assault Marines. With the Vanguard, the ones that come in with the close range weaponry, like the carbines, the pistols, and the daggers and such from say Space Marine 2, the Vanguard class, which you can see here, which as you can see I have a Space Wolf DLC for it. That is the Bloodstorm. Now, next up, you have the Firestorm. The Firestorm is very much the heavy weapons guys. Those are the the guys with the big guns and the explosives and everything, like the Centurion Marines, the Gravis armor, pattern armor, if you're Primaris, the Devastator Marines, essentially. That's what these guys are. And then of course you have the Nightstorm. Actually, no, the Nightstorm are the Vanguard veterans, the very stealthy guys, the ones who in the Space Marine 2 are Vanguard, whereas the Thunderstorm is the Thunderstorm. Those are the Vanguard Marines, the the Assault Marines, basically. Yeah, that's what that one is. And the Bloodstorm, that one was... I'm trying to remember. Keep in mind, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. I forgot to write it down. It was... Come on, brain, work with me here. Dang, I kind of... Oh, no, now I remember. Now I'm remembering. Alright, so the Bloodstorm, those guys are the essentially the vehicle guys, the ones with the very fast-moving vehicles. Bloodstorm because, well, they're a storm and they cause lots of blood. Shit. Not the most inventive, but that's just how it was. That's how I ended up writing it. Obviously, each of these guys also have their own burst companies. Let me go back to this. There we go. Now again, obviously, each and every one of these guys, they all, each company also has its own, essentially, first company. I say, not really first. They all have their own Terminator armor. Yes, obviously they need to, because each of them is meant to be self-sufficient. The chapter master of this is known, like I said earlier, is known as the Storm Herald, hence where it gets its name. Now, each captain of these hosts is known as a herald. So, for instance, the captain of the Iron Storm is the Iron Herald, the Bloodstorm, the Blood Herald, the Firestorm, the Fire Herald, so on. The chapter master, he basically becomes whichever captain ruled in that previous company, and essentially the new first company, so to speak, is whichever captain previously was the captain of that specific company. So, for instance, if say the chapmaster Jaraxxus dies, Jaraxxus is the chapmaster of the Irons, was the original Storm Herald. He was the original Iron Herald. So now there is an Iron Herald underneath him, but he was the old one. So he basically leads that, and the current Iron Herald is the second in command. If he dies, the 5 companies do a conclave, they vote, and say the storm, and then let's say what's his name? The current captain of the current Blood Herald, he could become the next captain, then the next chapmaster, and the Blood Herald, he passes that position to his second in command and becomes the new Storm Herald, but he still leads from the Blood Host, from the Bloodstorm. So, yeah, that's how they work. Currently, the chapter is still only at about around 1,000 Marines at full strength. Obviously, the 10th company is also spread between each of them, drawing the recruits. Each of them having their own pool of recruits from their homeworld. Their planet is in fact a feral world. It is not fully a death world, but it is a rather feral world. It's not even a feudal world. It's very much late hunter-gatherer kind of thing. There are some permanent settlements. We're talking no better than technologically than, say, ancient Sumeria. They're basically still, essentially, they're still in the Bronze Age. They're still in the Bronze Age, maybe beginning to get into the Iron Age. Like they're just out of the Copper Age, only in the Bronze Age. So, and granted, that's not the perfect definition for a Pharaoh world, but that's how I have it. And so what they'll do is they'll find the best candidates and just, well, yoink, because that's what they do. And they are seen essentially as gods on this world. As you can see, the chapter colors for this ship, for this chapter, are a gray, they have gray armor with blue highlights, and yellow lightning bolts on the thing. Which obviously, one is from the Storm Giants, one is from the White Scars in Space Marine 2, because obviously I don't have any art that I've made or commissioned or anything like that normally, so I just have to make them in here in Space Marine 2. However, I will still show you what exactly the colors are. So for the base armor, it's Kangas Standard Gray, a Lighthawk Blue, and then Night Lord's Blue for the trim, with obviously the shoulder pads being a Lighthawk Blue. So each shoulder pad's a Lighthawk Blue, then the trim is Night Lord's Blue, and of course the lightning bolt being just pure yellow. And again, you have the White Scars decal icon on the right pauldron, and the Storm Giants decal on the left pauldron. And so, yeah, this is my other, Space Marine homebrew Space Marine chapter that I made on Space Marine 2, and just overall that I intend to eventually paint miniatures. I'm still trying to work on my night bears. I'll maybe do a thing on that some other time. I'll definitely be doing a few other chapters once I've gotten a bit more lore and just stuff written about them, which, as you can see, there's two of them you can see here very, very much. This one I will not be telling the name of just yet, as well as this one, and this one in particular is one of my favorites alongside the Night Bears. Honestly, I like the color, what I do with them even better than the Night Bears. And of course, this one's is just as good as the Night Bears in my opinion, and I'll get to these two guys in later videos. But for now, that's all I got for you guys. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Later, peeps.